man, the restriction is not for her, but the restriction is for this candidate. Whenever he actually comes over and he basically sees dad is right there, that's a lion telling the man, well, you better make sure that you understand very well that I, as a father, will not allow anybody to harm my daughter. And men only fear men. They don't fear women. They don't fear women. But a lot of the feminist rhetoric is wanting a lot of women to live the mirage. It's like, men fear men. Men fear men. You got to live reality. Yeah. So listen to your father. Listen to your mahram. Listen to your husband. Listen to them. Don't listen to the feminist rhetoric that's trying to demasculize men. Wallahi, wallahi. The most important thing that Rabbil Alameen had actually put in order to protect women is the part about the mahram part. It's in order to give the restrictions for other men, not give restrictions for you. That's why we're seeing more women victims, because they're actually the ones, they're attacking, they're literally taking a dagger, and for the one that's trying to protect them, they're putting it in their own hearts. It's like your father is trying to protect you, but what do? You take the dagger and put in your dad's heart. This is extremely sad. This is extremely sad. This is very common. Very common. Or even in her husband's heart. It's like when he say, no, I don't want you going up at night. I don't want you probably, engaging with these men, etc. It's like, oh, he's putting more restrictions on me. No, putting more restrictions on them by making sure that you're secure and not being abused. Allah المستعان. وإذ أخذ الله ميثاق الذين أوتوا. What? Can you tell me the minutes? No, this is a new minute. This is a new video. All right. وإذ أخذ الله ميثاق الذين. Hold on. The ayah before it. لا تبلون في أموالكم وأنفسكم ولا تسمعن من الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم ومن الذين أشركوا أذى كثيرا. You will be. The word al-bala actually means to go into trials, to go into different hardships, to go into different challenges. لَتُبَلَوُنَّ. You will be facing a lot of bala. You will be facing a lot of hardships. Now, why is that the case? In what? In your wealth, in your body, whether that's through illness, or whether that's through the loss of loved ones. وَلَا تَسْمَعُنَّ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا أَذًى كَثِيرًا. And you will hear from those that have taken the book, in other words, the Jews and the Christians, and those, of course, the Jews and the Christians, to وَمِنَ الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا, and from those that associated partners, أَذًى كَثِيرًا. You will hear a lot of harm, whether it's mockery, just like in Surah Al-Buruj. In Surah Al-Buruj, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتَنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. Why? Well, that's because they were doing what? In Surah Al-Buruj. Well, they were actually preparing a whole fire to burn those that had believed. There's no way. All right, listen to this. Take a look at what's happening in France. What's happening in France? In the beginning, they banned the hijab or the headgear, okay? Then they didn't find that as enough. So then they banned abaya, all right? Abaya. In other words, even if you show your hair to them, that wasn't enough. It was trying to strip away every single thing about the person, the Muslim faith. Aysha. trying to ban every single thing in regards to the Muslim faith. Now, here's one thing: is that when we're actually talking about France, it's actually very interesting if you look at history, because when you look at history, the Muslims were so close to even conquering France. In fact, they were really close to Paris in a battle called La Poitiers. Really close. Muslims, until today, you would see that this is still in the memory, but it's really sad. It's really sad that the Muslims themselves are right now losing their history, but they recognize that Muslim power was actually all the way to the borders of France. So that's why for France, for example, they're so committed in stripping away anything that reminds them that one day France was going to be Muslim. Now, Spain was Muslim for 800 years. Muslim rule. I really, really wish that I can go to actually visit Spain. I really want to go there. What?
Cordoba, Spain.
Cordoba. When you're talking about Cordoba, it's the way that the scholars would describe Cordoba, the history, the science, the education, all of that. That place was considered the most advanced place in the world. In the world. That was in Andalus. In the world. You know how everybody wants to come to America now? And they're sneaking different ways, coming illegally, whatever it takes, because they would consider it as, hey, this is the gem in the world. That's how Andalus was. That's how it was. To the point that people would even boast to write poetry in Arabic in order to seem and appear cool, that they're actually cool. They have they trace back with their trend to the upper class of Al-Andalus. That's where all the education was. That was the Harvard back then. That was the Harvard back then. So when you look at abaya, why targeting abaya? Targeting abaya is really just to say, we recognize Islam is growing. It's another way of saying we recognize Islam is growing, and we want to make sure we take away. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Buruj, Surah Al-Buruj is amazing. When you look at وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ, the sky and al-buruj, all those, what are they called? Castellations? Or is that what they're called? The castellations and all those. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ, the day that was promised, Judgment Day. وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ, and the witnesses and all those. قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ. أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ, they were killed. Let's actually go for قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود. Let's go for Surah Al-Buruj for a little bit. Hopefully I can find it really quick. Okay, now it's giving me Al-Fahrasa. When you actually look at Surah Al-Buruj, it actually takes you into something that we have to keep in mind, that there's no way that you can actually consider that you have grown in your iman as a society unless you see that the others are feeling that you're a growing threat. Even though you might not have, like Ashab al-Ukhdud, they weren't actually using any form of power. In fact, they were totally unarmed. This was a government that was taking the people that had believed, just like Pharaoh took the people that believed and then started basically attacking them and regarding them that they were a threat to the society and a danger to the society, even though as in Surah Al-Shara, he just called them shirzimatun qalilun. He just called them just a bunch of little, you know, nothing to worry about. But he still thought that they were a danger. He still thought that they were a danger to the society. In other words, the definition of the terror definition is not necessarily when you actually have arms. If you actually look at Daniel Pipes and Robert Spencer, and I know most of you don't know who these people are, but they're actually considered the main people that were considered as the advisors, the think tank leaders, to lead the whole idea of the rhetoric, the Islamophobic rhetoric against the Muslims, that the Muslims are a danger, etc. But when you look at their written material, they're not actually concerned necessarily about weapons and arms and any of that. It's not that, because they recognize that Muslims don't even have the ability to even have these types of arms. Because right now, weapons are not weapons that you could actually buy at the store. The real dangerous weapons are weapons that are right now government controlled. Those are weapons that are too big for any individual to have. It's too big for any individual to have. So the whole idea of the claimed terrorism is not a fear of anybody getting access to weapons. And that's why when you read the material that they had actually written, wears a hijab, prays 5 times a day, is concerned about reading Quran, concerned about practicing Islam, talks about shura instead of democracy and all of that. And you're like, what is that related to endangering the residents, the civilians? It's nothing to do with it. If a person is practicing their faith, how is that supposed to define a person as a terrorist? It has nothing. A terrorist is supposed to be a person that, okay, has weapons, endangering, harming civilians, etc. But when you look at their definition, they're not even mentioning weapons. Weapons are not even in their literature. Not even in the literature. It's not even in the literature. It's not even talked about in their literature. They're not talking about somebody that has weapons and etc. They're actually talking about anybody. Here we go. That's the same thing with Ashab al-Ukhdud. Ashab al-Ukhdud, they were totally armless. They didn't even have any arms, didn't have any weapons. But despite all that, they gathered, that is the government at the time, النار ذات الوقود, blazing fire, in order to do what? إذ هم عليها قعود. They were on the watch, watching every single movement that those that had embraced Islam, they were watching them. وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود. Everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it didn't really tell us all the details, but it was just telling us that they were actually practicing severe scrutiny on the Muslims. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, well, He's actually scrutinizing everything that they were doing against the believers. Why am I bringing this up? Because of this ayah. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. This is why I'm bringing up the whole thing about Daniel Pipes and Robert Spencer and all these different people. Because the issue of you being called terrorist is not because you have weapons, because you know you don't. Because you know you don't. It's basically وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ. The main reason why they were targeted is simple, right there. It was really because they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was because they believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was because they considered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as their priority. It was because they regarded that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is their main center, not the shahawat. They became uncontrollable. They became uncontrollable. Why? Because somebody that takes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as their center, you can't control them by telling them, I'll kill you if you don't do what I tell you. Because to them, go ahead and kill. You'll make me a shaheed. You don't do this, we'll do this to you. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that gives life and death, gives a rizq and takes away a rizq. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is over. They become, there's no way to enslave them. Why? Because they say Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
عايشة، قيام الليل أولى عندي ولا أسمع درسك أولى؟
That was my mom. She scared me. And we're almost done, so you could just. She's scared. You know, by the way,
قيام الليل أولى ولا درسك أولى؟
قيام الليل, قيام الليل. One thing, sorry, Mom. One thing to say is that when we're actually doing this, it's basically in order to empower us and just remind us. I'm not here at all trying to create any riot in any way. I'm just saying, listen, expect that wallahu a'lam, expect that one day the same thing, when we would have people grow in their Islam, expect that you will be targeted not because you have any arms, because you know you don't. I never carried a gun in my life. In fact, I'd be so scared to carry one. To be honest, I've been really scared. What if it just blows up, even though a gun doesn't blow up? But never. And I'm sure none of you even carried a gun. Maybe you did.
No.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
You in the store. Why would you not carry? Don't you guys have a gun under the cash register? Really?
We had a bat, but not a gun.
Really? Okay. That's strange.
How did you connect this to the issue in France?
How did I connect it with the issue in France? The way that I connected it is, like I said, the abaya. Are they necessarily concerned that you might actually have some kind of an arm under your abaya? The answer is no. No. What is the whole idea is وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. Why is the abaya banned? It's not banned because of somehow of a claimed security purposes. It's basically one thing, is that it's basically in order to target the Muslims' iman. That's what it is. Same thing. Why? الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد. What is actually interesting is that in the surah, right after Surah Al-Buruj is Surah Al-Tariq. Al-Tariq is basically speaking about the star that makes a banging sound. I forgot what that star was called. It makes a sound. This is Al-Tariq. There's a star that makes this sound. All right, that's that star. All right, but then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right there telling us, well, you see those people that would want to tell you and make you afraid of practicing your Islam, etc. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, listen, you see, just like I was capable of creating a star that's making this sound, this blasting sound, and right there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you, إِن كُلُّ نَفْسٍ لَمَّا عَلَيْهَا حَافِظٌ. Every single soul, there's a certain protector for it. You want to know where the protection starts? Well, I want you to see when you were created. Look at yourself. What were you created from? Well, you were created from this ejaculated fluid. And this fluid, it comes out from a certain area, بين الصلب والترائب, from a certain area in between the chest bone and the backbone. Well, just like he was capable of getting him out from a certain place, he's capable, إِنَّهُ عَلَى رَجْعِهِ لَقَادِرٌ, he's capable of getting him out and bring him out of that grave and bring him back to life the same exact way that he got him into life from day one. يَوْمَ تُبْلَى السَّرَائِرُ, when all the different things that the hearts conceal, the Lord Almighty would bring it to be exposed. But then no power and no victory would be given to him outside of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the skies, you want to give an example, well, the skies themselves, they actually would give you all the waters to bring about life. And even the earth itself, it would basically start to sprout with the different plants. Well, this is just one word, one definite word that the Lord Almighty had given. The Lord Almighty's words are not whatsoever words of mockery. They will actually plot and plot, just like in Surah Al-Buruj. Well, they plotted. Maybe they thought that they were the upper hand. Why? That's in order to tell us that, listen, if you feel that you are fully protected, in other words, that, oh, your Islam is not targeted, you got it wrong. Your Islam itself, you yourself may not recognize. It's normal. It's absolutely normal. Just throughout history, absolutely normal for people to be and feel afraid of you, maybe because all the media is saying that you're a threat. Don't be afraid of all the stereotypical images out there. Yes, give a smile to show that you're not a threat. Give a smile to be the person as a pioneer to reach out to the community. Show them that you really are a person that is for security in the beginning, but at the same time, your hijab can be and might one day be targeted. Your Islam will be targeted. Everything that relates to your Islam might actually be targeted, but don't give up because others are feeling targeted by looking at you, or because you're holding on to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's why Surah Al-A'la says, "Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la." When you're feeling all that target, when you're actually feeling that you're lonely, you don't have anybody to support you, he tells you, I want you to take the moment, "Sabbih isma rabbika al-a'la." Glorify your Lord Almighty, He's the Most High.
أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
You want me to turn?
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب سيصلى نارا ذات لهب
وامرأته حمالة الحطب في جيدها حبل من مسد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
بس واحدة أعرفها.
ليش بدأ؟ هذه ولا هذه؟